Um, the first couple of poems that I'm going to read are from my chapbook, Opening Again to Music, which was written after the death of my son. He was in the Peace Corps. This is the backstory. He was in the Peace Corps in Lesotho, which is in Africa. And I was visiting him. We were on our way back from Victoria Falls, and we're in a terrible head-on collision in which he died. And I was pretty smashed up and spent the next 3 months in a rehab hospital, getting my body back and learning to walk again. So this first poem is called Bungee Jump. Since the moment of my arrival, we've been sparring, only half joking, about your crazy wish to bungee jump at Victoria Falls, finally concluding I had no right to ask you not to do it. You had no right to ask me to watch. But of course I did, and still can, since for 100 American dollars, you got not only to throw yourself upside down off the bridge between Zambia and Zimbabwe, plunging over the gorge, the rocks, the rushing Zambezi River, suspended between life and death merely by rubber bands attached to your boots, but to keep it on videotape. After the jump, the slow, swaying ascent, you bought a dark green t-shirt with Bungee, 111 meters, Victoria Falls, Africa, modestly embroidered on one sleeve. I wear it. And sometimes, when dark, relentless mind seeks to fill the gap between laughing together in the little rented car and waking out of blackness to hospital lights and strange faces telling me you didn't make it, I wrench away to see instead your strong young body freeze-framed forever, bravely hurling itself toward the horizon. I hear you yodeling in pure, wordless bodily pleasure, the boundless exhilaration of plunging but not hitting ground, conquering gravity, bouncing on air above the gorge, the rocks, the river. And I'm glad you did it. This next one is called Night Shift Nurse. That long night I lay immobilized in my pillow cocoon to keep from rolling on my wounds. The other women heard me moaning, called the nurse. She came, leaned over, whispered, "Where does it hurt?" "My arm," I whispered back, and it was true. But more, I miss my boy. "I know you do." She rubbed my shoulder, spoke quickly from the heart, something I can't quite remember, about he's in heaven, or watching over you, or wouldn't want you to cry. Something all wrong, but all right, because I needed it all. Another pillow under my wrist, the drink of water, the little pill to bring me sleep, the soft voice, the touching. She was warm and solid and black and kind and motherly. Heaven came naturally to her. She offered what she had, and I took it, grateful. Night shift nurse, I never knew her name. Don't recall seeing her before or again. And next. Sorry, there we go. This is called Rude Remark Not Made at a Jazz Concert. Bittersweet, they said, observing on stage the aged musician, now deliberate and slow, whose fingers formerly flashed lightning kinetic. It's sad, really. Bittersweet, I accept. Since once the innocence is torn from our eyes, that poignant mix may be the best that's left. But sad? No. I'll give you sad. Just tell me if you dare why Lionel Hampton gets to perform 2 shows a night at 92 And my son, having already survived one tragedy, gets to be dead at 27. Just two more from this group. Hiking with Mary. We spoke of them, my son Jeremy, her son Cliff, knowing we could, my friend and I sharing the bittersweet sisterhood of bereaved mothers, sitting high on a rocky peak under a brilliant September sky. Directly before us, the volcano rose astounding and huge, her glacial crust glittering. The nearby mountainsides burned scarlet and gold. The surrounding smoky blue layers of mountains and valleys stretched endlessly outward, expanding our views of world, of life, of deeper truths. And all around us eagles flew, so many we gave up counting, around and above and below us, swooping down to the thin silver ribbon of river below, catching the updrafts, floating skyward, gliding, soaring, right toward us, then lifting, permitting us to sit, awed and grateful in this place, quietly talking and eating, leaning against the sun-warmed stones, watching them play, basking in their freedom and beauty. Later, descending, she said, I wish I'd known Jeremy and you'd known Cliff, but then we wouldn't have known each other. And there it is, the persistent paradox, the inescapable coexistence of fact and wish, the fine balance of absence and presence that allows not mere survival, but vitality, pleasure, joy, the lost boys, the eagles soaring. And one more from this little collection. Through your eyes. Tonight, writing a poem for you, I looked up a word in your Sesotho English dictionary, and a photograph fell out. I see a wide, dry, golden landscape, lone tree in the foreground, long shadows across the grasses, dusky mountains in the distance, a rainbow softly dissolving. Thank you, Jeremy, for taking this picture, for slipping it carelessly into a book and forget it, so I could find it years later and cry to receive such a gift, to see the world once more through your eyes. Thank you. I've got some more. So kind of continuing the theme, the next couple ones. You know, I keep writing grief and loss poems all the time. This one is called Raptor. Raptor crouched just overhead. Yes, you. I know you. Met you before, when ferocious you swooped down out of the wide South African sky, snatched up my son, left my unconscious broken body for another day. It has been many days, years, and now in this dismal pandemic, you gorge on an endless supply of souls, the rest of us masking, hiding, afraid you hover everywhere, even inside us, neighbors and friends, those whose touch we long for. You are insatiable. Someday you will come hungering back for me. Unknowing how or when, I am certain of only this. In the seconds before you flew off with my boy in your bloody beak, the last sound I heard from him was laughter. This is the mother poem. Listening for body pain, I hear my shoulders speak, creaking at the link between body and arm, between self and self-outreaching. Woman, comfort yourself. Rock your sorrow, reach down to earth, reach up to sky, make your farewells, sing your losses from feet through thighs and torso, let your goodbyes soar through your open fingers and fly through leaves and birds and clouds. Let go and reach. You know the diamond stars were once just fragments torn from broken hearts. This is a very recent one called Webs. When he was 6 and in love with string and Spider-Man, my son tied up his room, the entire room, a web unspooled from a giant ball of string, secretly lifted from his father's toolbox. Daily, it grew into a marvel of spontaneous complexity. String stretched bed frame to window latches, to doorknobs and back, across into the closet, around the clothes pole, under and over and through the dowels on the back of the blue and green toy chest. Giddy with power, small enough to slip in and out, he giggled when I stretched and scrunched or high-stepped, knees to chest, daring to penetrate the borders of his magical kingdom, on a quest to gather laundry or kiss him goodnight. Today, so many decades later, I walk in my home through a web omnipresent, invisible, a network of memories and feelings, looping through anchor points, linkages in every room, images pensive or amused, clumsy clay animals shaped by small fingers, his rubber reptiles among my plants. This web will never grow to include anything new. Time stopped when the string of his life unspooled. This next poem was the one that was actually on the metro buses tooling around Seattle, which is kind of fun. In meadows. What you need in a meadow is perspective. A view that includes the blue dragonfly hovering above the flow of river, the slender-fingered willow leaves trailing already nostalgic farewell to the water murmuring hi, the red mud on your shoe, the rusted barbed wire where someone thought he owned something, the haze of woods, the sun too fierce to gaze into, the oak whose strength will outlive you, and the knowledge that no matter whose hand you hold, you see only through your own 2 eyes and will never live precisely this moment again. This next one is a poem about ambivalence. The key. I have the key to the door in my hand. I stand on the threshold. The key fits the lock, but this block inside me won't let go. I know something will happen when I turn the key. I yearn to be there already on the other side. Inside, outside, the view changes depending where you stand, the key in your hand. And now, this is a poem about something in my neighborhood. Interlochen woods, late afternoon. Peck, peck, peck. I stop, stay still, cautiously peer through branches, vines, shafts of slanting light. There, long sharp beak, red head, sun-black wing spread. And now I find him again, across the ravine, barely visible, his drilling for dinner sounds muffled by leaf stir, bug buzz, squirrel scurry, 1,000 shades of green. I have a lot of bird poems. Here's another one. This is actually, I don't know if any of you saw or remember this gorgeous documentary called Winged Migrations about the migrations of birds. It was fabulous. Upon viewing winged migrations, oh, for the instinctual life, to know in every cell of sinew, feather, and hollow bone the precise time to stay, to rest, to soar, to fly, to risk the air, though not alone. To recognize deep inside the throbbing body the avalanche before it roars, and to lift instantly to the thrumming beat of 1,000 wings, to rise high and steep above the catastrophe. Deep driven to roost and soar across continents, wing to wing with their kin, equally unaware of death and their own loveliness. Do they feel pulsing wing beats even as they sleep? Oh, to let go of thought, to gaze with simple gratitude upon such delicate strength and beauty, the sky-born grace and flight of our embodied yearnings for all that lifts us into the light. This one has not only trees, but dog. Pink trees with birds. Spring morning, pink trees with birds. Taste of coffee, mountain shine. A woman and her dog out walking. The dog trots ahead and sniffs. The woman walks and thinks, like this. Look at her, so happy. It doesn't matter a bit that yesterday she was alone and afraid when the earthquake hit. Now is enough. She teaches me about now. I won't tell her about what if. This poem is called Oak Park, Illinois, where I used to live. How tenacious their hold on the branch, the finger-shaped leaves of those tall old oak trees lining our street. The very last leaves to fall. So it was Thanksgiving before we went out with hats and gloves to rake the rusty, thick carpets. Upper layers curled up crispy dark like scraps of burnt toast. Underleaves already turned to slime from early snows. The startling emerald green of spongy grass newly seen. October, a glory of amber light, brilliant red and gold. November's leaf fall, a prolonged shudder. We and the trees preparing for the dark and the cold. So here's another autumn poem. This one's pretty recent. It's a November villanelle. A November song is a lonely sound. The hungry dark devours the helpless light. We mark each loss, small or profound. October pumpkins, once sun-ripe and round, collapse, chewed up and black in wintry blight. A November song is a lonely sound. Green leaves turn to gold and crimson and brown. Bare branches clatter on windows shut tight. We mark each loss, small or profound. Unmet wishes fall like leaves to the ground. Unused dreams have faded far beyond sight. A November song is a lonely sound. Late morning fog lingers as though to drown the day. A pale, weak sun gives up the fight. We mark each loss, small or profound. Memories and ghosts keep floating around, rattle our restless souls on wind-blown nights. A November song is a lonely sound. We mourn each loss, small and profound. After the rain, fat round drops glitter, linger and cling on bare branches outside my window. Everything trembles with impermanence. These same branches will dress themselves in frothy green, flame into scarlet and gold, become bare once more. Nature likes these circle stories, cloud, rain, river, ocean, cloud again. Nonetheless, today, I want to capture and hold this moment. Slow down the endless flow. Stop to watch the tiny, shining droplets linger, cling, fall. This next one is after Joy Harjo's wonderful poem called Remember, and mine is called Reminder. Remember the city of your birth, its soaring hills and bridges, mournful morning foghorns. Remember your island legacy, sea and salt and sound of Spanish. Honor the memory of your mother, your father, their mothers and fathers, the arduous migrations and journeys. Remember your life's recurring farewells. They are rehearsals. They will never end. Remember the bulbs you planted in long-lost gardens that may still break earth every spring. Do not forget rivers and waterfalls. They never stop flowing. Remember your smiles when cherry trees begin their soft pink murmuring. Remember to reward each small loss with the gift of acceptance. Remember the voice of your daughter singing her own true songs, the spirit of your son alive among the stars. Remember all the love you have ever known lives inside you. Remember the past is gone, the future unknown. The present dissolves as we breathe. Remember, each breath is a gift. The next two poems, I made the rather crazy decision in the summer of 2020 to retire from my 43 years of work as a therapist in the middle of a pandemic. So it was tough. I missed people, I missed work. So this first dream is called Post-Retirement. In my dream, I am back at work and have received a big promotion, though the boss leaves details quite unclear. Salary and duties to be determined, hours and benefits variable, tenure unknown, and oh, by the way, no office or desk for me here. It seems I must negotiate on my own to find or create a space from which to carry on. Human relations says it will all work out, but don't ask how or when. Success, they contend, will depend upon frequent self-assessments. Please rate your performance on a scale from terror to zen. This one is called Liminal. To whatever in my life comes next, I am writing because now I know I am ready and waiting for you. This present lack of purpose tests my soul. Without familiar roles, I go to let your voice come through. My formless days can't find their bones. The compass needle of my mind spins loose, cannot find north. Journeys end indistinct, though darkly known. Eagerly I lift my voice to call, come in, help me shape my time until then. If simply waiting is not enough, let me fling wide the half-open door. Perhaps with a breath of fresher air, you'll arrive to point me quietly toward a path not seen before. I'll take a chance and join you there. And finally, this is my last one. Moon Blessing. Into my poem slides the moon, the one Coleridge saw, lifting his child to his shoulder, the one Billy Collins saw, reminding him of Coleridge, and the goodnight moon I read over and over and over 50 years ago to the toddler who one evening lifted her head from my shoulder to point skyward and call out, "Ball!" Oh, moon of many shapes and faces, may you shine your lovely light upon poets, moon lovers, and children everywhere. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
I think more to the point is recently I've been suffering from amnesia. I had a brain tumor removed, and in addition to having the tumor removed, there were parts of the memory chain that went. So that's what I'm coping with now. And it can be quite difficult, but I'd like to start by reading an old poem. It's a translation. I usually don't read translations, but somehow this is one of my favorites. This is by a Czech poet named Jiří Orten, who was killed by the Nazis in 1943, the year that I was born. And I love his work. And Ed Hirsch wrote a wonderful introduction to this, and I really like this collection. And this is one of my favorite poems of all time. Seems to be appropriate for every circumstance, and it's called White Picture. A kind December, somebody stood on a hill, palette in hand in the snow, as one unacquainted with cold. Everywhere snow was falling. It fell on his painting. He paid no attention. He painted. He painted winter naked, her limbs, the white valley of her lap, deeper than desire, her full breasts, all that sheer giddy height. Snow was falling on the artist's model. A raven circling. Oh God, what's a raven doing here? Who sent him and from where? A kind winter day. It was snowing, even on the palette, which was bare. That terrible inability to rule the snow, to empower painting that falls from the sky to the canvas like white stuff that doesn't even know it's falling, let alone where or why. That terrible inability to stop escaping. Your hand is getting weaker, and your bluff is about to be called. Your tongue's tied in your gaping mouth and can't say to the melting stuff, oh, timeless changes, melting everything hidden. When snow is all that's left of me, where will my soul have gone, unforbidden? In what woman, which snowdrifts will it be? A kind December. Somebody stood on a hill, palette in hand in the snow, as one unacquainted with cold. Everywhere, snow was falling. It fell on his painting. He paid no attention. He painted. One of my favorite poems. He was killed by the Nazis when he was like 22, I think, when he was killed. Just a terrible situation. Anyway, so this is from a little chapbook. And I have recently been struggling with memory issues. I have what they call it intermittent amnesia. And it makes life very interesting and a little bit scary. Never know when there's suddenly going to be a gap in what I should remember or what I should know, and suddenly there's nothing there. And it gives life a certain edge. This is I don't know why I've prefaced this poem. This is a fairly lighthearted poem called Delivery. What could be mailer than a male mailman? No one, except my mailman is a woman, femaler than I, beautiful in uniform. She unlocks a row of boxes with her tender key, saving mine for last. While she fills the row of open mouths like a mother bird, I watch her from behind my big apartment door and think, she's got a job. She makes money. Money would be nice. I should get a job, at least try. And think, how nurturing she is, how mindful, how sexy. I'll speak to her tomorrow. We'll go out, fall in love, get illegally married. I'll read her poetry in bed. She'll make money for both of us. Of course, doing something socially conscious. Yes, tomorrow I'll speak to her. Stop hiding behind this big glass door. Wait, tomorrow is Sunday, the day she's unfaithful. I know, I'll write her a poem, this poem, and send it. I like the idea of her delivering this to herself. Thank you. This is quite a different, this is a little chapbook they did. They had a whole series, and the ISBN takes up the whole back cover. I think it's quite a nice format that they have. And it's one more from this book. This is called A Mountain Range on Its Side, and it refers, when you look at the poem, if you turn it, it looks like a mountain range, the line lengths. An itemized itinerary slips like a paper airplane onto the edge of my desk and balances like something too finely tuned for simile. Life is so breathless, it's like Jack and Jill ran up the hill without really needing to fetch a pail of water or anything, just for the joy of running, like the bear who went over the mountain to see what she could see. And tomorrow, I'll be winging my way to you, and I'll be seeing you not in all the old familiar places, but in Spain. A year ago, at an all-female slumber party, my friend Karen said the profoundest thing I ever heard anyone say. We were sitting around a table on the veranda late at night, enjoying each other's good company, and someone reached for the wine or the eclairs, or something which had already no doubt been alacritously consumed, and Karen said, "It's too late, but there's more." If my kids could stand it, I'd put that on my tombstone. I'd also like, "Her sins are forgiven her, for she loved much." But why bring up sins at a time like death? Life is a short shot of espresso expression. Later and sooner we lay waste our powers. Latte and scone, we make love with our powers. And I'm going to Spain. Star-spangled in the non-chauvinistic, spangled Spanish fly away sense. Oh, Valencia, we love you. Va, 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 Valencia. What do you see when you see Valencia? You see a sea, and soon you'll see me by the seaside sipping salty air. La-di-da, lady, her life's a glass slipper and not a glass stare. The last time I saw the Dalai Lama, he was in Mongolia, and he was blessing a white pony. I feel like that white pony with my forelock in my eyes. Words fail me beautifully. I've had this amnesia for, I don't remember how long. It's been quite a while though, and quite a saga. And I never know when I'm going to forget. So I'll be just going along and suddenly I'll forget. Oh look, now I've torn the whole thing here. But anyway, I would like to read, this poem's called A Life. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. I'd do without the forceps if I could. As I relaxed, I felt the world go gray. At 10, I slipped out after dark to play. Father didn't hit me, though he thought he should. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. At 20, I had a staged lover. I lay trembling in his arms in a cardboard wood. As I relaxed, I felt the world give way. We married. For 10 years, he managed to stay faithful. When he aired, I said I understood. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. At 40, beds got blanketed with gray. I wanted to die gracefully if I could. As I relaxed, I felt the world give way. I've seen that poem for a long time. Okay, one more from this collection. It's called Zombie. My fingers were double jointed. My hands might have been put on backward. My zombie's blood, slick with oil, sometimes caught fire and burned all night. I spoke in riddles and was known to mutter to myself. At meals, I kept pats of butter cooling on my tongue like lozenges. After meals, I hid. I lashed asparagus logs together with string rafts for dry gutters. I hated zippers, sing-alongs, boys' laughter, books with underlined words, old ladies with dogs. If mother kissed me, I had to take a quick, hard suck of air, but she found me hard to kiss. I didn't ask for more, didn't whine or cry. I fought fights I hoped I'd lose. I didn't die. It's a little biography. Thanks. Yeah, it's a weird thing, this memory loss from after brain surgery, where I go to remember something and it's right there and then it's not there. And it's teaching me something about life and about the tenuousness of life. So this is a sestina. I went through a period where I wrote a lot of sestinas, and it's called The Ending End, and it's a rhyme sestina, which is not typical, as you know. Beginnings, yes, but who knows how things will end? A feverish child bolt upright in his bed doesn't, or his mother forced to bend over her own lap, biting off loose thread as she sews. Most predators muzzling fine kills think nothing of it. But men who divine water with forked sticks and think themselves divine might well ask themselves, who knows when things will end? My Sunday school teachers didn't confine themselves to prose. Sing at table, sing in bed, devil will get you, hang you up by a thread. Wind sends boughs crashing, but virtue won't bend. That's the end. The straight and narrow took a bend when my high school art teacher praised the divine Fragonard. Classicism hung by a thread. His swinging girl, her half-off shoe marked the end of it. I hung that picture above my bed. I imagined looking up her dress to fine white panties. Taking them off, I saw her fine cleft. I'd try more, find my finger wouldn't bend, and wake to discover I'd wet the bed. Mom said she didn't mind the wet sheets. Divine providence, they tell me, shapes every end, she joked with crinkled eyes, but then lost her thread of thought. I put myself through college, silk thread through a steel needle. I discovered the fine art of listening to music. One prof would end his classes playing operas he thought would bend our ears, reintroduce us to the divine. He said, Rosenkavalier was the sickbed where romanticism died. I sat in bed that night and let his words begin to thread their way through my mind. They seemed to me divine words, spoken from beyond the final confine, time. They beckoned me around the last bend of thought. I asked myself, who knows where things end? I realize in fine, I'm mortal, not divine. Winds blow, I bend. I don't know where things will end. Above my bed, a sword hangs by a thread. So from a different look, this is an acrostic, and forcing the beginning of the lines that way kind of made it, I think it was more interesting than it might have been otherwise. And it's called The Refrigerator Speaks. Rap me or dare the door, I've been left scraped clean, unfilled. They slapped their medals on my chest, true. Stuck me with fruit magnets like a ham with cloves. So, the only real message is the last one. Empty fridge. Leave nothing here. I crave a new light for my vegetable bin. I want newborn lettuce to nestle and fear no harm from love, hardened cucumbers, or callow troops of idle celery lawmen. It would be best with eggs, blooming like white flowers in the blue plastic moonscape with protective bars, and 2 sticks of butter to garage like cars. Raw meat, frozen, is the start of every poem. Don't ask why, just go bring the groceries home. Full definition of poetry there. See one from, this is the artwork on the backs of gargoyles. I really like the cover. This is from a thing in Spain, I think. There's this great gargoyle, and then there's a little baby or something with its head in the gargoyle's mouth. It's a really arresting thing. And this is I was writing a lot of sestinas at this time. This is one of those. It's called After the Funeral. He follows his manifest breath back to the frozen house he used to call home. The second from the bottom step still creaks, but the green porch swing is nowhere to be seen. Regret, the black cat who never liked men, winds around his legs, then moves away. The key isn't scotch taped to the back of the ice-glazed mailbox. It's under the home sweet home mat he made in first grade. I think I might need some water. I think that's something. the Home Sweet Home mat he made in first grade, which is still stained, as if with faint green blood, on the side where he left boots. The key stalls. Why did he never hang on to his all those times he moved away? He's in. The tall clock stands at attention. The tall clock stands at attention back to the wall. Its case may be the dark home of cornered spiders, but the pendulum still cuts a clean arc from here to nowhere and back. The old deaf hound, whose name he never remembers, has somehow found a way to wedge herself between the wall and the back of the couch. Under his mother's childhood, home is where the heart is sampler, which still hangs by a thread. The dog's legs twitch. She runs where her dreams take her, fields where Brer Rabbit never heard of Mr. Dog. He makes his slow way to the bathroom, closeted under the back stairs. He used to bring bottles of moonshine home and hide them inside this floor. A friend joked, "Still waters do run deep." But the kitchen's where the warmest things happened. He never sees deep bowls without remembering the way the leaden dough would rise. He'd punch it back. It always rose again. Things are coming home to him too quickly. He goes outside. The still night air is fresh and cold. He stands where the lilacs were. The stars, which are never just stars, shine, but not in the friendly way they used to. He'll sell things and give the pets to friends. Coming home still means being nowhere. He'll never come back. He'll never get away. Double message of home there. So read something from, thank you, from Screen Life. This was an attempt to, this is sort of a collection of poems from different years. This is a really old poem that it's an acrostic, but you don't need to think about that. It's February. The snowman has crumbled to a giant's glove. Have I made it to garaged boots and boxes of 5-cent valentines? Do you love me now? Me? Do you dream us into bed, young somehow and naked? Then what happens? Do your dry senses swing open like garden gates? I can feel you quicken when I touch you by accident the way I have to. I feel new repertoires come into play each time I do. Lift me up, breathe on my hair and carry me. I'm 5 years old, asking you to marry me. Okay, let's try it from, this is from the Spanish, oh I see. This, I stuck a bookmark in here and it has Scotch tape. And now when I try to take it out, it rips words, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Try to read around it here. Here we go. Okay, a life. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. I'd do without the forceps if I could. As I relaxed, I felt the world give way. At 10, I slipped out after dark to play. Father didn't hit me, though he thought he should. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. At 20, I had a stage lover. I lay trembling in his arms in a cardboard wood. As I relaxed, I felt the world give way. We married. For 10 years, he managed to stay faithful. When he erred, I said I understood. That's more like it, I finally heard him say. At 40, beds got blanketed with gray. I wanted to die gracefully if I could. As I relaxed, I felt the world give way. Life, thank you. So, I have what's called intermittent amnesia. So right now, I'm hoping you'll tell me, did I read The Refrigerator Speaks?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. I was about to read it again for the first time.
Oh,
That's
you mean the
okay.
poem you were just going to read?
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you read that.
I did.
And you
The
can-
one before you read the
It's the
Yeah.
one before that you read twice, which is really good. I like hearing it the
The
second
one
time.
before, I read
Yeah.
twice?
Yeah.
What was
Give
it?
way, the world
The
gives
last
way.
one
Oh,
you
really?
read. Yeah.
See, that's it. That's the amnesia there, folks.
That's okay.
For me, it was the first time all over again.
Oh, there you go.
There's one good, yeah.
So this is called Milking the Cow of My Dreams. So I'm 12 years old, sick with a fever. My dad went to sleep long ago, and my sister just gave up trying to take care of me and is probably awake in her room, thinking about nothing except how she's going to get married tomorrow. I've fallen asleep in front of a TV that doesn't work. And even asleep, I'm feeling really stupid because I'm dreaming about a cow. She's so white it scares me, this cow. Not even my sister was ever so newly naked. She watches me come toward her as though the field of corn we're in is a country church all lit up, except for one dark center aisle down which I struggle. Me, the kid's sister, purer than any bridegroom or his wife, whispered yes. When I'm near enough, I reach out. I want to touch her, but her eyes grow vague and baleful. Yesterday's overweight nurse on her lunch break. My left boot makes a squishy noise. Surprise! I'm ankle deep in an analogy so new it steams. Her tongue extrudes from her mouth like a thick pink slur of toothpaste from the tube our long-ago mother taught us to roll tightly from the bottom, like summer pants. Her black squared-off nose is my Teddy's, lost in the washing machine that broke right before Mom's funeral. Her ears are damp kitchen towels that go psst when my sister puts them on my forehead. Towels she won for spelling bureaucrat before Betsy Sands. I know what would happen if that tongue were pried. The tape my sister used to use to check her bust would get torn. She'd be spanked like in the old days and throw stones at me, spiderwebbing my glasses, so I'd try the back door approach. That tail might lash and twitch like willow or bark, but it's the barn rope we swung on from loft to loft. It's never let us down. I grab hold in its Eeyore's tail. I tug. It comes off. And with it, a balloon tied by a knotted string, comes a bulging sack that thumps to the ground. I rip the slick thing open, tooth and nail. I pound the ground in red-handed joy, but the calf is dead. I shove it aside, fall to my knees, tuck in my chin and begin to butt. I nuzzle the warm white source of luck. Muzzle unmuzzled, I guzzle and suck. I wake up and it's morning. I'm feeling better and the fever's gone. But when it gets to the part I really don't want it to get to, and my sister starts walking toward me down the aisle, I still embarrass myself by crying. Because say what you like, 3 people is a real family, but 2 people is just me and Dad eating TV dinners and struggling for control of the remote. Couple more. I Did I read you something by Orten? I want to make sure I do that. The check. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, this I don't think of. This was a jeu d'esprit. It was the funnest writing of any poem, I think, any substantive poem that I've written. It's called Gorilla of Love. And it's been used by several groups. It was a lot of fun. Decades ago, when my son was 6, he wrote the first of not many poems. I quote, "Way down south there is a bone, and in that bone there is a stone, and in that stone there is a moan, and in that moan there is a gorilla." And stop. Yesterday, someone in my mind-body study group said, I quote, "In difficult relationships there is contention, and in that contention there is anger, and in that anger there is sadness, and in that sadness there is love." End quote. So, deep in our hearts where it's warm and sticky, there's a bone of contention. In that bone of contention there's a stone of anger. In that stone of anger there's a moan of sadness. And in that moan of sadness is the bare-breasted, hair-chested gorilla of love. He may be found clinging to the Empire State Building of attachments, but bring in the planes of enlightenment and he'll let go. And instead of falling, this is fantasy, you know, he'll take to the skies with cloth-like, moth-like, goth-like wings and come again each Christmas with a sleigh full of toys. This hairy, scary, watch out and be wary, he'll make you want to marry, gorilla of love. I used to write paradiddles fairly often, like once every 6 months or something, which is very often for a paradiddle. No, it's a very difficult form, but I won't go into it if you don't know it. But this is a paradiddle on love. Once our hearts were open, we made love. We made love once our hearts were open. We turned and embraced in huge unmade spaces ruined by war. Unmade, we turned and embraced in huge spaces ruined by war. Once we turned and embraced open war in huge spaces we made, our hearts were ruined by unmade love. Have you vanished from the face of this life? You have vanished from the face of this life. Still, I miss belonging to you and longing to have love. Still, I miss belonging to you to have love and longing. I have vanished from this life to miss longing, and still you have the face of love belonging to you. Our old, blind pain did not help us find a way to God. Our old pain did not help us find a way to blind God. God could not let us be true to one another. One God could not let us be true to another. Let us find another blind God to be true to. Our old one-way pain God could not help us. Our old way of belonging to blind war turned our heart spaces to pain. We once embraced love and could have vanished from another God to find the one true face to help us. You were not open, God. You did not let be and have ruined us. And still, in this unmade life, made huge by longing, I miss love. Maybe one more to make it a little bit. Yeah. It's a little bit lighter, but it's kind of fun. So it's called Knuckles, and it's I have a little note to it. It's a straightened villanelle. The first line is repeated at the end of the second and third tercets. Then the third line is repeated at the end of the fourth and fifth instead of the normal alteration. So it's a villanelle but tweaked, and it's called Knuckles. She'd been left high and dry. She licked her lips, stocked the fridge, cold humming hive, with knuckles. He knew his way back to her. Opportunity knocked just once. She stood ready. White futures flocked to her mind, gulls riding a tractor's wake. True, she'd been left high and dry. She licked her lips, checked phantom planes. When she spoke of him, she knocked on wood. Furrowed voices asked what they could do. She'd been left high and dry. She licked her lips, shocked. She was leaning on the ropes when liners docked. Let him parse her presence like a phrase, construe his way back to her. Opportunity knocked elsewhere, though. No notes. Nothing rocked her boat, rocked her stalled horse, her wooden air. Couldn't he hew his way back to her? Opportunity knocked with brass knuckles. Wolves stood at the door and blew. Smart pigs lay it on the trowel, made wolf knuckle stew. She'd been left high and dry. She licked her lips, blocked his way back to her. Opportunity knocked. Thank you. I think that's all I did.
Unfortunately, today is the 10th anniversary of Sandy Hook. And I wasn't sure what I was going to read tonight, and then when I heard that on the news, it's like, I wrote this 10 years ago, right after Sandy Hook.
10 years.
Breach of the Castle Keep. I heard it on the news. I heard the days-long debate of how to make sense of the senseless. I heard the attempts to enter a mind imprisoned in its own dungeon of despair. I heard the concern about how someone of pitch-dark mood could walk among us unnoticed until he escaped through his crack. I heard the examination of links in this serious chain of events leading him to create the destruction of 20 nascent worlds. And I heard the expressions of intense sadness. I read the headlines. I read the headlines screaming about another loner whose mind was filled with the poundings of an iron fist. I read the headlines shrieking about this evil escaping from the shackles that held him behind his door of isolation. And I read how our crying nation must bear witness to another round of speculation filled with finger-pointing clues and counter-clues. Our questions must be asked because we are a species who need to search for reasons. But can we truly understand his furious madness? I wonder, did internal torture never stop once the air raid drills of his nightmares filled with slanted lights and danced like a migraine aura? Was his mind crawling with horror story scenes where the shadows of gnarled trees were strewn and discarded like jackstraw corpses teetering at sanity's edge? When he snapped the clip into his weapon, did he visualize the clipping of wings off these beautiful elementary angels? And if he was required to put an end to himself in order to put an end to his gnawing anguish, then why his need to take these young children? How did this appease his hate or ease his pain? While we're left with a puzzle that will never have all its pieces, we do know the all-too-familiar blood-splattered day of deadly military paraphernalia. We do know the all-too-familiar buying frenzy by those who feel their absolute gun rights will be threatened. We do know our country's shame and its glorification of violence and the misnomer of a well-regulated militia. And we also know the 23rd Psalm will again be recited among the families and in the processions for all to rest in peace. And let's see, it turns out I also wrote this about 10 years ago, but it has nothing to do with this. Ark of Darkness. In the shivery metaphors of controlled history and the cold calculating fictions on a people, In the chilled, relentless breath of immaculate pretense, an unrepressed arc of darkness pervades. There is nothing new in our continuation of belief in their falseness, merely an escalation upon our nation by string pullers roaming collisionist corridors of dominance. Ours is a country of somnambulists, tolerating narcotic pixie dust of sanctimonious pollution. In our sleep, we acquiesce to their rudeness disguised as patriotism. There is no civil discourse, no respectful dialogue, no honest debate. If there is, those who dare are marginalized, then ostracized. A society in decline does not want to know. Much easier to swallow sanitized spirits washed down with zero-proof righteousness. Much easier to vicariously survive and worship Americanized idols. Through the occupation by occupiers of the occupied, we are preoccupied by trivial celebrity, reality bullshit, and 15-minute flameouts. We continue to test fate while nestled in our bed of lies. We welcome these lies as we lie to ourselves. We gaze into our national mirror without reflecting on what we see. Who we are stares back at us from street graffiti on our door, while we buy darkness sold at the corner drug by traveling boat salesmen and media minstrels. From an early age, we are taught to worship shell games, taught inch by inch to be ruled by rulers, trained to follow hollow sound bites, to mistrust critical thinking. Ours is a gradual decline within a starved body politic, a great ennui feeding empty calories to a lost people, emaciated until we mindlessly smile while regurgitating the bile. Serious matters are simplified to activate the lowest emotional denominator. We know the quickest way to control is through hate and fear, yet we allow this to continue. Once this seeps, there is no room for thought to interfere with her fight or flight instinct. Their control is near complete. These Machiavellian shadows have survived since the first jawboning of the masses, but so has the truth. Their path of concealed lies is a road to be exposed by all peaceful means necessary. Anarchy has a point, but I remain more hopeful. Destruction to destroy destruction is not the way to illuminate and expose false artifacts of our troubled world. Rebel artists have always been needed to render the charade, to find a crack for the light to get in, to counterbalance the charlatans, to reveal what lies hidden beneath the ark. Time for one more?
Okay.
All right. And I wrote this one quite a while ago too. It seemed like every other week another bookstore was closing, especially used bookstores. And then this one that we used to have open mics at was closing. So I wrote this. The last bookstore, out of business. The last bookstore closed when the words departed and left no forwarding address. A cat named Edgar Allan Poe once roamed about the shop, critiquing literary choices between naps. This day he made himself scarce, watched from the rafters, and mewed as his shop was boxed up and locked down. Histories, mysteries, fantasies, fictions, fables, and facts descended into the infernal memory cache, where bit by bite mnemonic conglomerates deleted old prose pirates and poetry punks. Vain profiteers tied off and mainlined a fast-buck future as former customers zombied the protest pavement past the story ghost emptiness. Authorities arrested open mic neobeats for the crime of community, while weary neighborhood watch patrols stood under the new management sign, anticipating another grand opening of the latest in celebrity-endorsed euphoric fashion accessories. As for Edgar, he evaded the dystopian roundup to find his afterlives behind the library, rapping with the conspiracy of ravens. Thank you.
So, I was really excited about the Isostoyan, about the therapeutic nature of poetry, because that's where my journey has been in the last little bit. Particularly for me, in the last year or two, sort of wrestling with what it means to be a man in our culture. And so the collection from this year, well, it's not like I have one every year, this is the only one. But I thought I'd share a couple of those. This one is about my relationship with my wife. We're both at certain ages in our life. She is at a stage where she's taking less of my guff, and I'm at an age where I'm reassessing my guff. So there's a lot of painful discussions. This is the bed we make. In the night, I wake and I have no covers. The blankets are curled in ribboned excess between us, or on the far side of you, or wrapping you like a salmon at market. I do not know, of course, if in my sleep I cast them to you, seeking distant coolness, or if you pulled them to you like a spool winding thread, but I am cold, and you are bound. It is not fair, this bed we make in our unconscious turning. If we were to change things, one of us will have to drag the other along. It's not nice to be woken from a hard-fought slumber, someone stealing thunder, destroying a delicate piece seized out of another hard day's short night. Resist unwinding as though it were the crime. If we were to change things, one of us will have to hold fast their hem, vigilant, but not unkind. The occasional grace of a tug or two. It may take many quietly warring nights to train each other ourselves, to respect each other ourselves, to claim half of this bed we make and welcome each other at the hump we have made in the middle. Recognizing this in our sleep and waking, stillness and shaking is making love. So I'm also father of a couple, of a few kids, 3 kids. And I was playing baseball with one of my sons, and I realized that I had not played baseball in a long time because I actually created tennis elbow after one evening of playing catch. So this is a poem about that, about leaning out. My arm is sore after one intent evening playing catch with my son. So many times reaching out to meet his throw, wild, short, uncentered. He's still learning, and so am I. The soreness might be an injury I need to nurse, or it might be telling me my arms have grown too weak, and the only way to restore them is through it. My throwing arm is fine. I can sling these pot shots all day and hardly feel the pain in my shoulder. I usually only notice it when I lie down to sleep. There are afternoons when he and I can't seem to connect, one mitt with another. And sometimes every loving toss lands in the center, the sound resonating briefly down the alley, in the chambers of my heart, off the enamel of my front teeth. I can rub out the discomfort in months or years, or maybe not, and that's okay. It's a tattoo I feel when reaching out, remembering that I decide what is important. The 2 mitts call to me now from atop the game cabinet, spooned together, curled around the hard ball, held close by the memories of hands. The ball leaning out, bigger than one glove can securely hold, on the edge, as it were, wanting to run out and play. The end. And one last one. So this is Ava at the Cape, and my daughter Ava, I don't know if she's probably not comfortable with me pointing her out, but she and I were walking along the beach, and she was dragging a stick. And we thought we were walking in a relatively straight line until we turned around and saw how squirrely our path had been. So So this is Ava at the Cape. She dragged a stick behind her to leave a mark in the sand as she went, and was surprised to see how uneven, how bent and wandering her path had been for walking in a straight line. Was it her feet that betrayed her, always seeking balance in the soft sand, needing to land like a hockey player, racing off, leaving traces of wing beats carved behind? Or was it the shifting hourglass fodder, finally free from so many waves, longing to cling to her feet and hair and face, eager to leap out of the black earth before the merciless forgetting of the tide? Or was it the stick, that hidden imp, innocent in our hands, slave to our direction, really a master deceiver, casting straight lines crooked, furrowing the flaky crust as if the whole ocean were one enormous pie tin needing crimping at the edges, drawing scars in flesh despite the sea's earnest healing. Our desire for immortality manifest in our dissatisfaction, encountering a world too capable of bearing our tender footsteps, making a weapon of our being to mark even time, even knowing the tide will erase us all eventually, line, stick, stepper. Or is it something deeper still, crying out from beneath the surface, seeking cracks through which to emerge, that in our play and idleness we glimpse, obliquely like landing places of rainbows, but is driving us, sand, stick, hand, wandering, and revealed only in retrospect, if we care to look back, surprised and not how unstraight it is to trace our forward motion when all we thought we were was taking a walk. Thank you very much.
Now, the last time I recited one of these poems, I had footnotes on them, and I gave some kind of an epilogue that was meant to explain what it was all about, right? So Alex Smith, who was here, said I should have made it a prologue rather than an epilogue. All right, so I'm following his advice, and I would request you to hold your booze till the end. All right. So now, all religions, in fact, except perhaps Buddhism, have the concept of Adam and Eve, right? So they may call it Adam, Hawa, or Adam and Eve, or whatever. Now, of course, there's a logical reason for that, because you don't want the creator have to create every single individual, right? Too much work. Okay. So, in Hinduism, see, Hinduism is a funny religion in many ways. It's it's got 33 million gods, and so it has a very good explanation of why your prayers are never answered. And guess what that is? It is basically that you prayed to the wrong God.
Yeah.
Simple as all that, right? So that's one of the things. The other thing is that there is, so you notice one thing about all the old scriptures. So you have all these writings, some of them contradictory, and then you have a big gap, after which when you try to change things, you get stoned. Because you have blasphemed, right? In Hinduism, it doesn't work quite that way. What happened is, up to a point, there are different versions of what happened. So what I did is I took advantage of that. All right. You may ask, who am I to do this? I said, if they can do it, I can do it too, right? Why not? So apart from the Adam-Eve thing, Hinduism also had a mind offspring. Boom! The creator just let loose, like from biology, like you have an amoeba, it bifurcates. Okay, so it's a 1, you get 2. But in the case of the amoeba, the 2 parts have the same properties. Now clearly, this infinite creator couldn't create fragments with the same powers. Wouldn't, because that would be a disaster. As it is, humanity is a disaster. Alright, so you could have, so basically the mind offspring were the finite parts of the creation. So here we go. So there were mind offspring, and then there was the equivalent of Adam and Eve. So I think the prologue is pretty much complete. Okay. The earth, Prithvi, decked like a bride in green, glowing in sun, moon and stars, a queen, urged Brahma for subjects for rain. Brahma commenced his grand design. Okay. Now we all know that we have to have a design, then we have to have prototypes and so forth. All right. Needed were beings capable of reproduction to give Brahma leisure for contemplation. Each being was allotted a fixed lifespan. Overcrowding the earth was never a game plan. The first prototype was the mind sun, amoeba-like asexual reproduction, each a finite fragment and emanation of the infinite in number uncertain. These figments busied themselves practicing austerities, composing the Vedas. Soon Yama would sweep these shards away. By itself, the first prototype was useless. Why? Because it didn't reproduce. And the Vedas are actually these, the Hindu canonical texts that basically have, actually most Hindus don't know what they have. I don't either. Okay. So, the second prototype, a young lass, Shatarupa, carefully crafted, beauteous, sun, moon, stars shining in her eyes, gently wafted to earth, set down lustrous. Like Prithvi, clad in glorious tresses, she sauntered towards the anchorites, meeting shut eyes, imprecations, loud chanting of mantras. All right. They ignore me, the queen. A way will be found to cure their spleen. Nature's abundance they do not glean. Do not glean it. I'll secure to begin my reign. The third prototype, a young man, Manu, a virile, handsome mind son, every fiber exuding suppressed passion, was offered to Shatarupa, a boon companion. It is stated that the copulation, via the method in Manu's brain, leads to human regeneration in each kalpa cycle of creation-destruction. So, Hinduism looks at 14 days of Brahma. So, the Creator goes through 14 cycles in which mankind is created, or person kind is created and then destroyed. So, the latitude I've taken is, I claim that womankind was created first, and that man was created for woman, so that the race could be continued. And I base it on saying that the mother is what is important. Right? So that's what it is. So, thank you.